Hey Avid Tires, welcome back. Tying another fly for you today. This one's the good old elk hair, but elk hair with a pearl body. So we're gonna add some flash to it, basically. It's a great classic pattern, but with the additional pop, it can really set your fly apart. So if you're fishing a day down on the Arkansas, let's say during the Mother's Day hatch or something like that, where there's a ton of these bugs in the air and they're just gorging themselves on them, sometimes this fly will separate itself a little bit to the point where you'll get more strikes on it than you would a typical elk hair. So let's give it a spin. And we're tying it on the classic dry fly hook. Today it's the TMC 100BL, so the barbless version of it. And I'm doing a size 16 here. So it's a nice down-eyed hook. The 1X fine wire for this dry fly. It's got a wider gape on it too, which is nice. And the good old bronze hook. And then I'm using some Vevus thread today. This is a 16-aught. So it is a fairly light gauge thread for what I'm tying today. If you're not real comfortable with really light threads, especially when you go to the point where you're going to be cinching down on the elk hair, you may gauge up your thread a little bit and go to maybe a 14 or even a 10-aught. You'll just have to be a little bit more aware of your thread wraps as you're going around. Then the next material we're going to add in is some flash. We have the Hairline Pearlescent Tinsel here. This is the medium gauge. Makes a really nice size for the body wrap. It's a good compromise between the small and the large. You can cover the body a little bit quicker than the small, and I feel like you get a little bit of a smoother body than you do with the large gauge. But if you wanted to go a little bit bigger on it, you could always do that. The hook size anyways, and then you could size up your tinsel as well. And then we're gonna add some hackle. So an amazing hackle that we're using today. This is the Whiting Farms saddle. It's medium done. So just a ton of great feathers on here. This is the Midge grade. So for the most part, these are smaller gauged feathers, mostly sized 18 and down, but there are some size 16s on here that I'll be able to use as well. So we'll locate one of those. And like you've seen me do in the past, if you watched some of our past dry fly videos, we're just gonna take that and sort of spread it out on the hook to find the right size. That one's maybe a little small. That one's too big. Almost there. There we go, that looks just right there. And of course you can use a hackle gauge as well. There's some great hackle gauges available on our site. Hairline just came out with some really cool new ones. Griffin has a great one. So those are always a handy tool to have to ensure that you're getting the right size for the size hackle for the size fly that you were tying. And then we're just gonna go ahead and secure that right in the back. Typically you would do a little bit of wire on an elk hair caddis out of the back, and then you would tie your hackle in towards the front and walk the hackle back and wrap your wire over the top of it. Sometimes I like doing it this way just because it simplifies the process a little bit. I feel like I get a cleaner hackle when I'm finished because the wire isn't biting in or smashing down any of my hackle. But it is a little less durable. If you opt to add in the wire, your fly will be just a little bit more durable and may last through a few more fish than this one. And we have another elk hair caddis video out on the site, so we'll drop a link in the description for that you can check out. And in that style, we did it more traditionally, so you can see that method there as well. Now I'm just gonna walk my thread on forward, right up behind the eye, and then we'll half hitch it and hang it out for those materials to come on forward. First one being the tinsel. So I'm just gonna wrap that right towards the front, covering everything up nicely here. Could use the rotary, but always can do hand over hand as well. If you don't have a rotary vise, this would be how you would go about it. And then we're going to secure that down. Again, working right behind the eye, and snip out the excess there. And then I'm going to bring my hackle forward as well. So we'll do our starting wrap right on the back here. And then we can open palmer forward, and you can do this fairly tight. You can spread them out a little bit more, just depending on how much hackle you want there to be underneath your wing on your elk hair. It's a nice light pattern, a lighter version of this. You could upsize this and tie it for like a spruce moth imitation. Works great for me as a little caddis. So now that we got our hackle secured there, just add a couple of locking wraps, make sure that's not going to come loose on us. I'm going to go ahead and trim the top of it. And this is a preference thing as well. You don't have to do this, but you can come in and just clip it at an angle here. And that's just going to sort of give a platform for our elk hair, which the namesake of the pattern, the good old elk hair. And on this one, I'm doing the bleached. So it's a nice bleached color, very light elk hair. We'll take a small amount, don't need a ton of material here. I would say that's less than a pencil diameter in a bundle here. And we'll clean it out real nice. We can take our loon comb here and really comb it out good. Get all of that under fur out of there. And then we're gonna stack it. So we'll take our hair stacker and throw that in there, tips down. Give it a few taps. And then we'll turn it sideways and grab our tips out. And then we can figure out the length of our bug. I'm gonna stack it one more time. Sometimes when I do this, I'll stack it once, and you can see they're not quite perfectly aligned. I'm gonna go ahead and trim them down just a little bit so that they fit in the hair stacker a little bit nicer. And then that way I can get my thumb on top of it here, just like so, and then really give it some harder taps. And that just gets them stacked nice and square. So now we'll transfer this, and again, find that length back. We're going to do basically the entire length of the body here. I'll transfer that into my other hand, and then we're going to do a couple of quick loose wraps and just double check our length. And then keeping it pinched real nice, we're going to pull down on it. And again, if you're using the 16-aught here, you have to be aware that you want to go nice and snug, but there's a limitation with how tight you can pull with the 16-aught. So again, a 14-aught, if you're not comfortable with that, or even going up to a 12-aught, can be a good option here. And Vevus has a wide range of colors and all of those gauges available. This is sort of a lighter dun color that I'm using today, which I feel like matches up nicely to that dun hackle that we have underneath, and also blends into the collar really nicely as well. So then jumped ahead a little bit, but I went ahead and trimmed it off. So I just kind of trimmed it off square, right off of the front of the eye, or I guess it's a little bit of an angle, so not square, but about a 45-degree angle up towards the wing. And that helps give that nice elk hair head on there. And then all we need to do is come back on it and give it a whip finish here. This is one of my favorite dry flies, not only in the pearl, but obviously just the elk hair caddis overall. In the summertime, this is a fly that I really look forward to getting on my rig and fishing. When these bugs are active and on the water and the fish are keying in on them, they definitely rise to them with a lot of vigor. They're gonna try and get them before they fly away, whether that be on the emergence and they're taking off, or when they come back to the water and they're laying eggs. It's a great pattern to have around all through the summertime, and a lot of fun to see fish come up and rise to. So definitely give yourself a little bit of time and spin up some elk hair caddis. This pearl body elk hair caddis is a great one to have around. All the materials for the recipe that we have here are in the description below, and we really appreciate you watching. Have fun tying.